promise this might be the first and last time you guys ever see this shirt. I bought this. This was the first thing I ever purchased, and it's easily the worst thing I have purchased since creating what is now DJB Capital Partners. I got this straight off Vistaprint. I ordered an extra large. They sent me like the biggest shirt. I mean, I guess it's a normal shirt. I'm just not used to having my sleeves come down to my elbow. It's here for now. That's all I have. This collar's killing me. Anywho, so before we get into what DJB is, and I think it's worth talking through like how we even got here. Maybe a little over a year ago, I was playing 2K with my cousin. 2K, for those who don't know, NBA 2K, the basketball game. I play it a lot, and I have played it a lot since I was a child. I play video games in general a lot. But while playing with him, his older brother came on the mic and he was like, Dallas, how much do you play 2K? I said, I got about 1,500 hours, which is the equivalent of about 63 days. In my head, that's my hobby. Like that's what I enjoy to do. I work hard, 40, 50 hours a week, whatever it is. I come home, playing the game is what I want to do. And he goes, imagine if you took half the time to build something on your own instead of just consuming something. And at first I was like, oh my God, this dude's just being like old. You just don't get it, bro. I work hard. You always just hear this negative connotation with gaming. And this is not a gaming video, but like that's what it came off as. And over the course of that year, it just kept sticking with me because I had always thought, man, I would love to build something, but I don't have the idea like a Uber. I don't have the idea, one of these big tech startups or these big computer software programs or anything that in my head was, worthy of building from scratch. Just over the process, I guess something clicked. Maybe I don't have to build something with a product, a grand product. Maybe it can be a skill set, right? Maybe it can be a vision or something you're passionate about. Maybe that's something worth building. While I started working through that thought, it just became clearer and clearer that this was something that was worth going after. It aligned several things that I was passionate about, right? And it was worth trying. So that's what I'm doing. I am trying. Give you guys some background about me. My name is Dallas Burns. This is the D&B of what DJB is, but I graduated in 2023 with a finance degree from Baylor. I was the average student. I graduated with a 3.2. In the process of working through the business school and working through finance, I didn't know the things you were supposed to be doing to set yourself up for the future. I just figured you get your degree, you get a job, right? So I didn't do any internships. I didn't do much extracurriculars outside of just going to class and doing as best as I could. So I graduated and I found it incredibly difficult to find a job that last semester. I didn't have an opportunity lined up for me. So I was like, okay, maybe I do have to bolster my resume a little bit. So I ended up going to get my master's degree from Master of Science in Finance. But more so than getting better at finance, my mindset during that entire program was, how do I break into the industry, right? How do I do it right? So that is internships, that's meeting with career coaches. That there were certain things I felt like I had to do to break into it. And it took me forever. It actually took me over a year. From the day that I graduated to the day that I got my full-time job, I was still in my master's program, but I was already 2 semesters in. And then in the summer of 24, I got hired as a FP&A Analyst for a waste management environmental solutions company. That is effectively my story, and there's so many more details and lore that can probably be discussed, but for the sake of it, I think that's the gist of it. DJB is essentially built around 3 pillars in my head, right? You have one, which is your advisory work, and that's kind of what I do for work full time, which is your cash flows, your analysis, your budgeting, your helping people make better decisions, helping business leaders make better decisions, driving insights, that type of thing. And that's one of the things I hope to do is work with individuals, work with entrepreneurs, work with large business owners, work with anyone, right, who runs something that they might not have the analytical foundation that a Fortune 500 company might have, or a company that's able to invest into a litany of finance people or CFO and things like that. It's like that is an area where I can deliver value. And so I was like, okay, let me try it. On top of that is investing, right? I think that's another pillar. I got into finance originally because I started in the stock market, like how most people get into liking finance. It's you start with equities and you get interested in making money, losing money, seeing things go up and all these different things. And then as I got more information and learned more about it and learned more about the inner workings of how stocks move, how companies move, business cycles, economics, different things like that, it just became even more interesting. But to get back to the point is the company I work for is currently a private equity backed company. And so in the process of working for that type of entity, it's very interesting in how it's built, how they think about deals, how they think about exiting. Obviously I don't work in private equity, but I couldn't see why I couldn't replicate some of the things that they do, right? And learn, or at least learn how to, in theory, which is, can you invest into an idea, grow that idea, sell that idea if you wanted to, or hold it, right? Or I think there's a number of people out there who have great ideas and that, one, don't have the foundation, which is, okay, that advisory section comes in, but two, just the capital, which is something I can help with, it makes sense, it's worth the conversation, or at least how we raise the capital, or what capital structures make sense for this particular business, thing like that. And lastly, which I think is the most natural to me, is the education part of it, right? I'm going to continue to grow as a finance professional, regardless of what DJB becomes or doesn't become or whatever it is. But I find this to be a natural avenue for me to just teach anyone some of the things I might, learn throughout this process, right? I come from a family of educators, and I've always envisioned myself probably ending up in the educational realm, whether that be a professor or adjunct or something like that. Maybe I don't have to go the route of educating through a school. Maybe you can educate, and I know you can, through social media, through platforms like YouTube, through anything. My goal when it comes to who it is that I'm trying to educate isn't just the business owner. I can impact several different people, right? I can relate with those who are students still. I'm only 2 years removed from school, really 1, but I've been in the industry for 2 years now. That's still early, but that's still probably enough time to relate with younger professionals, maybe even older professionals, people just breaking into finance, and then obviously entrepreneurs who want to understand finance better, right? I think ultimately the goal is something like a world where I can help business owners maybe avoid mistakes, help students learn how to break into this world or understand a concept that I have just figured out, relating to young professionals such as myself navigating through their careers, right? And I don't want it to just be finance careers. I think the beauty of something like this is it's relatable with anyone that does anything, right? It's just, I happen to be talking about finance, but at the end of the day, I'm just building something, right? And for anybody that has that same mindset of building something, they might be able to find something here relatable. So I think particularly with this channel, the last thing I want you to envision, your typical like finance guru, your finance influencer, because I'm not that. I just not. I want to be able to showcase the process of me learning more, my journey for different certifications. Like I'm going through the CFA process right now, and that's one of the things I want to showcase, like the wins and the losses, the things I understand, the things I don't, and how I tackle getting better at it, right? So just to kind of close, I really don't know what DJB ends up being, right? In theory, there's a lot of different avenues and a lot of ways that I could see this growing into. The interesting part of it is showing you that, right? Showing you what worked, what didn't, how we ended up where we end up, and trying my best to really craft the story. I hope that is interesting enough for anyone who might be interested to tag along, because I want to learn about you guys too. I'm going to be as transparent as I possibly can be. Hopefully meet some people who are growing and building something as well, and then we could just figure out how we relate and how we move forward and how we can continue to build. Does that make sense? I think ultimately it's my goal: consume less and build. Try to, I guess.